Hi, my name is Harish Iyer. I'm an equal rights activist, and I'm an active voice for a number of social causes, animal welfare, child sexual abuse, and LGBT rights. They top my list. And I'm joined by Faye D'Souza. Faye is a friend. She is an award-winning journalist, and she is an ally to the LGBT community. I, in fact, take offense in calling her an ally. She is one of us. And she has won the One of Us award as well. Faye, you have been associated with the LGBT cause for so long, so long. I remember even when Mirror Now was not Mirror Now, and you had another channel. It was called Magic Bricks at that time. Even at that time, you took issues of LGBT, even over there. And it has practically become like we all have become your friends, your extended family.
Yes.
From where did this come? I mean, what was it in your upbringing that actually made you so sensitive right from the beginning?
I suppose it's difficult to actually trace back what makes one sensitive. I grew up in a household of a lot of women. We had three sisters. We have a younger brother, but three sisters. So we outnumbered the boys in the family. And I think that just makes, you just makes the household more sensitive. I think that the thing that happened for me was when I moved to Hyderabad. And I was CNBC TV 18's bureau reporter slash bureau in charge of Hyderabad for a year. My roommate in Hyderabad was a young gay man, and I technically had no prejudice, but I didn't know anyone who was gay personally and intimately. So we were living together, and we shared one apartment, and we would cook together every night, and that's really a very intimate sort of relationship when you're roommates. I really got to know him. He's still a very dear friend. His name is Ryan Figueredo, and he taught me so many, many things. First of all, he taught me how to match my outfits, which is really important, which I didn't know until then. But it was also a comfortable relationship for me to ask him many things. So I asked him a lot of questions I had about what it was like to be gay in India. He was from Goa, and what it was like to grow up in the church, which is extremely prejudicial about being gay. It actually says that it's a sin and it's wrong and this and that. So I got to ask those questions in a comfortable place, and he was very kind and he explained those things. And over a period of, and I remember this day really beautifully, and I hope he doesn't mind me telling this story. We were in the kitchen cooking together because we both loved cooking, we both loved food. And I turned around, looked at him and said, "Dude, you're so good at this. You're going to make someone really happy someday." And he turned around and said, "It's all I want. I want to have someone to look after." And in that moment, it sort of snapped for me, and I realized there's no difference between him and me. There's no difference in any of us. All we want is to have someone to love, have someone to share your life and your experiences with, have someone to look after, someone after you. I mean, who cares what the genders or the binaries or what society tells us to do? It's fundamentally, we all want the same things. And that was, I think, a moment for me. And post that, it sort of made me more, it opened my eyes, it made me more aware. I remember I spent a lot of time doing insurance and personal finance and all of those things. And there are these questions to ask, right? Homosexual, same-sex couples who've been together for decades cannot buy insurance for each other. You can't make your partner your nominee on your insurance policy, even though you've been together for years and years and years. You can't buy houses together. You can't take home loans. You can't open a joint bank account. Stuff like this that heterosexual couples take for granted. And then once, it's almost, it's a biblical reference where scales fall from your eyes and you're able to see better. You see members of the community around you. And then in every job that I had, every sort of circle that I was part of, I was drawn to and I befriended members of the community. And I learned more and more from each of them. I think that one of the things I learned was when I was dating my husband, it's so nice to be able to hold hands and walk down the street, right? It's a special thing when you hold hands for the first time. You're like, oh, is this happening? Is it happening? Is it not happening? That feeling. The first kiss is so important. And I realized that, for same-sex couples, it's something that not only are you having that experience, you're also saying, oh, who's watching us? Who's going to, take offense? Who's going to get pissed off? People, and I know of couples who've been asked to leave from restaurants, who've been asked to leave from nightclubs because other people have said these guys are making us or these girls are making us uncomfortable. Everything that should be simple and should be easy and should be beautiful becomes hard and complicated and difficult. I just felt that I could never fully understand what members of the community go through, but maybe I can help other people come to where I am in just being able to see it, just to see and identify that, hey, you know what, this is not fair. I mean, everybody should be able to experience these things the same way. So that's my journey. And then I met you, and then,
I have a niece, and when I had a boyfriend and I took my boyfriend to her, she was 8 years old that time, and she called me Harish Mama. So he became Yash Mami. I mean, it was that simple. And I tried telling her, tried explaining to her, like mummy and daddy are there, like mama and mommy are also going to be together. But for her, it didn't really matter that we both were boys. What mattered to her is that anyone who stays together is the husband or is the wife. And since I was mama, he had to become mommy. Till date, even when we broke up, she would be like, "Oh, does that mean I would not get to meet Yash Mami?" I said, "No, you can still call Yash Mami and talk to her." So children in general don't know to discriminate per se. They can be extremely rude as well, but sometimes they just don't know how to discriminate. Children and pets.
Yeah.
My biggest comfort has been, especially the days when I used to get discriminated and I used to feel really bad. My biggest comfort was my dog. I used to come home and he used to just look at me, and all the worries used to go away. And they accept you so much, and it's a thing with all queer lives also. Most of us either have got a dog. Most of us, even Ankit has a dog. Most of queer people either have a dog or a cat, because I feel the unconditional love sometimes when we don't get from our species, we move to the animal kingdom and we find too much of that. You know what? This lockdown, when we're speaking about the lockdown, one big challenge that we are facing is many of these families, many of these kids who are either studying or they were staying outside. This lockdown has pushed them back to their givers, their primary caregivers. And that's their space of violence also. So every day I get calls from people who are stuck in their homes, and either whether it's a case of child sexual abuse where the person has moved out and suddenly they've come home and they face something, or a trans person who has been wearing lipstick and nail polish all their life, and now they have to come back to their family and act as if they are cisgendered for a while. So I think that's one major thing that's been happening right now. People are being forced. Where do you go when your home itself is not the place of comfort?
What do you tell people who call you with this problem?
At this moment, there's nothing that I just keep speaking to them practically every second day, not to reach out, not to actually flare up anything for this moment, because where would they go? If they're in lockdown, there's no place that they could go, and ensure that they get psychological counseling over the phone for the time being. After that, of course, they would be free to reach out to people. Of course, if there's violence, I call the police. But if there's no violence, then I just ask them to kind of mellow down and just be there for a while, because the lockdown is not going to go forever.
The other challenge I came across is, I had this conversation with Keshav Suri about this, that apparently transgender people who are in quarantine facilities, are being treated really badly by the other members of the quarantine facilities. True. Because they're not being allowed to use either one bathroom. The women are uncomfortable with them using the women's bathroom. Obviously, they feel unsafe using the men's bathroom, and they suddenly find themselves quarantined within the quarantine facility, and sort of isolated within isolation. I mean, unless we can find a way to create a quarantine facility specifically for transgender people, where they're looked after differently, and which is going to be difficult to do because we're just simply running out of beds for everyone. I mean, again, this is an intersection in which someone needed to have thought, and
True.
They didn't.
Even because most of the people from the Hijra community, many of them are employed in they either do begging or they have sex work. Now, both these things they wouldn't be able to do now. Even badai, I mean, where they go and they ask for money when the child is born. Any of these things is completely. All of these things have stopped now. Keshav has been doing quite a lot. Lakshmi has been doing quite a lot. So it's in the end more than outsiders. It's ended up the community helping the community in some way or the other. So yes, there are people who want to do it because they wanted to help. I remember I had this one group which got in touch with me. They said we wanted to help trans people because they thought that trans people were holy. So,
Well, just as much as everybody else, but why not?
yeah, I said I wouldn't mind taking the help. I'll connect you to the right people. You have interacted with a lot of people from the LGBT community. What is the most memorable moment that you have?
377. We were in the room together when that news broke, right? You were on air with me, and here's the funny thing, that technically the law doesn't apply to me, but I had tears in my eyes that day because I knew how. I mean, it was just an overwhelming sensation for the whole room. I think the whole country was feeling something. That day also, I met with a lot of rainbow parents who came into the studio. Those conversations are, I think, the most supportive rainbow parents, I think, is the amazing example of unconditional love ever, because any parent, has to answer a lot of questions from extended community. I remember when I quit my job in television and it went viral on the internet, my parents got a lot of calls and they had to answer questions. They didn't know the answers to those questions. And they were like, what are we supposed to say? Because these aunts and uncles and all these random people will call. And for rainbow parents, that's the challenge, right? Because you can love your child as much as you want, but you are the one who's basically taking all those extra calls from all of these other people who are asking you questions. And I think that sitting down with rainbow parents was just amazing. I'll never forget what that show felt like. It just felt like something for me, which is really special. And that whole day, that whole 377, that judgment day was, I think, the most amazing day for me. The previous day, I happened to be in Kerala for a shoot. And we found out, I think, at about 6 o'clock-ish in the evening that the judgment was coming the next day. And I took the last flight, flew back. I said, no, I'm going to be in the studio for this. This is the thing. Ankit had actually quit his job by that point. So he was no longer working with us. And I remember calling him on my way into work and saying, what are you doing? Just come. Let's do this together. And he came in. He wasn't working with us. But he came in that day to be there because we all just wanted to breathe that air together. It was just such a big thing. So that day I will never ever forget. It was the most amazing thing. But I wanted to ask you this. I mean, coronavirus has like obviously derailed a lot of things. But post 377, I remember hoping that day that we would make so much progress after that. Have we made progress?
Yes and no. I mean, yes, in terms of sensitization, people are more aware. But in terms of policies, I don't think much is. We still don't have an anti-discrimination law. As of now, we just have the permission to have sex. Section 377 is to have sex without the sword of the Supreme Court hanging on our necks. So, but we haven't reached anywhere legally after that. One good thing is that Maharashtra has set up a transgender welfare board. That just happened like yesterday or day before yesterday. Supriya Sule has been instrumental in that. Apart from that, there hasn't really been progress otherwise. And also what is happening is, of course, the Trans Act is also very problematic. So that's another battle that needs to be fought. So as of now, we just have the right to have sex. There's nothing else that we do. And
go ahead then.
Yeah.
No, but so I remember we had this conversation. The pockets of work that are left on the table, right? And there's a lot of it. So there's Tier 2 India, and I know that a lot of LGBTQI people come to Mumbai or Bangalore. You feel that it's slightly easier to be here than there is in other smaller cities. So there's that communication that we need to take from our big cities, so that LGBTQI people in smaller cities find even this understanding. I mean, I don't know how much of this we've managed to actually communicate. Secondly, the idea of what comes of discrimination, right? And I remember the judgment in Supreme Court, the Supreme Court judgment said that the government is to frame laws that outlaw or that prohibit discrimination against anyone who is in the LGBTQI community. That never happened. Those laws were never written. And it would have been really easy to do because you have these Vishaka committee guidelines that apply to all workplaces. You just have to add to that. Say, also,
just remove women and make it person,
Yeah. Yeah. No. So see, the difference is that for women, we are talking specifically about sexual offenses and sexual advances, right? But for the LGBTQI community, we also need to remove bullying, teasing, bullying, that sort of harassment, that which is not included right now in the Prevention of Sexual, Harassment acts, the Vishaka guidelines, we have to add that. But it's possible because the dhacha, the structure is already there. You just have to write in it. And my favorite project right now is the marriage project. I want to attend full-blown dancing weddings of same-sex couples. And I think that this is an important thing. It's a huge step for India. I don't know how long it's going to take us, but I think that this is something we have to keep pushing, that you have to push it forward and forward and forward, because we're fundamentally fighting with this basic thing, right? A lot of people say, abhi to now it's not illegal anymore. Na? To abhi to live together, what's your problem? So to be able to explain to them why same-sex marriage should be legalized in India and how to get there is also a huge task. But I really believe that that's something to focus on. So in these pockets, have you gotten any closer in any of these things, in your opinion?
There are marriages that are happening. They just don't have legal sanction, So there are people who are getting married anyways. So there was this Indo-Paris wedding. One of the boys was from Paris, and the other one was from India. They got married, and there are these marriages which were happening even before 377. Before the verdict, just that it didn't have any legal sanction. So,
but I think the battle is for legal sanction, right? The battle is for the ability to buy a house together, to leave your property to each other, to be next of kin. Imagine being married to someone and not be next of kin when that person is in hospital. You not be that person on paper. And
I think you can't. That's the reason why it's important. You can't even pull the plug. You can't give the, if somebody's suffering, you can't just go and tell that he's my spouse. Just pull the plug.
But that's the extreme decision. But the smaller decision is this. Now, God forbid, somebody meets with an accident, you get taken to hospital. Before the doctors start any procedure, they need someone to sign. True. You cannot be that person. You have to call a family member and say, can you come and sign, because I'm not allowed to sign. I mean, that stuff. This is the kind of stuff that should be low-hanging fruit. We should be able to solve for these problems.
True.
And quickly. Yeah.
Now coming to something lighter, Faye, what's your favorite song?
My favorite song. Gosh, I don't know. So I listen to everything. But lately, during this whole lockdown, there's a new version of What a Wonderful World that's come out. It's, I think, the concert that Lady Gaga sort of this thing. I love that version of The Wonderful World. It reminds me that that it's not all bad. That we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
So that's my current favorite song.
Thank you so much, Faye, for your time, and we should meet up.
Whenever this is done.
Whenever this is. Bye, Faye.
Bye.